A very good morning and welcome back to another daily market update where we discuss the major dollar pairs and of course potential trade opportunities alongside the fundamentals. So not the best to a start of the morning, guys, because I actually filmed myself already for 50 minutes, but then I realized until after the recording that I was not actually recording. So here's a take two of my daily market update here on the major dollar pairs. So overall, guys, EURUSD is currently at this daily internal low, which we have discussed already for quite some time and which could cause a potential reversal back in towards the highs. Now, obviously, the immediate market structure here on EURUSD is bearish in the sense that the fractal structure is bearish. So we saw the push up, the push down, the push up, the push down, the push up, and then a push down. So this low over here, which broke this high over here, that was extremely important because this kind of confirmed the overall, let's say, bearish potential pullback trade that we could have seen. Now, there's two levels that are extremely important to watch out for, because despite the daily fractal structure obviously now being bearish and shorts making sense, or let's say a deeper pullback making sense, the overall swing structure is bullish, right? So we see a push down, pull back, push down, pull back, push down, and then a strong push up. So this is like a retracement before another potential push in towards the upside. Now, there are kind of like two areas that you always want to keep an eye out for when looking for, let's say, a trend continuation in towards the highs. That is, first of all, the 0.5 fib in combination with, let's say, a key level of support and resistance, or this area of demand over here, the overall sell before the buy, which is the obvious demand zone where pretty much every single trader in the entire world is looking to go long from. Obviously, this is also what the 0.7 fib as well, right? So this is what a lot of traders would call the OTE. It's just the optimal entry point. That is what they mean by that. And then you can see, the 0.7 fib is inside of that demand zone. Now, obviously, this is a trader's dream to take a setup like this as well. For myself, I would love to take setups like these. However, you need to understand, what should I do if momentum is high? So if momentum is high, the market can just make a minor pullback and then just continuing towards the upside. As we have seen in the past before with euro dollar, it makes a strong push down, minor pullback, never really retraces in towards that 0.7 fib or in towards that supply zone, the OTE, and then sells off. No, it just makes a minor retracement and then sells off in towards the downside. So the same could happen over here. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen. So how do we know if that's going to happen or not? We keep an eye on the 4-hour fractal structure. So obviously, if I go in towards the 4-hour now, what can we see? So the immediate order flow, guys, on the 4-hour time frame on EURUSD is still very, very bearish. We can see here, buy before the sell, here, buy before the sell, here, buy before the sell, and then again, buy before the sell, and then again, buy before the sell. So the overall trend is in towards the downside. I think everybody can agree with me on that. For the rest here, the immediate 4-hour buy before the sell candle is currently pushing the market down lower. So it still makes sense for EURUSD as long as this 4-hour fractal high, which is this dotted line here, as long as that holds, it still makes sense to push down lower, and shorts, if you are in shorts, are still perfectly valid. The next kind of like reversal point for EURUSD is this imbalance candle here on the 4-hour time frame. However, there is one thing that we need to keep an eye out for, and that are these two equal lows, because these two equal lows could also cause a reversal. However, Fabio, how do I then know if it's going to cause a reversal or not? Because no, we're not idiots, so we don't just buy like this on a reversal pattern, whatever you call this, a railroad or a shooting star, blah, 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 blah. No, we wait for the market structure to shift. So we wait for this 4-hour fractal high to go, because obviously there's descending price action, but it's very slow and there's not a lot of momentum, and the overall price action is still very, very choppy. One, this has to do with the fact that on Friday there's going to be inflation numbers coming out, so PCE, so keep an eye on that. But two, we need to wait for the momentum to shift in our favor and for a demand chain to start forming. So how do I know if a demand chain is going to form? Well, if we see the fractal structure shift. So we need this high to break. That would then mean this overall sell before the buy here would then become your demand zone, and then you could look for a potential long position in towards the highs, because then I would understand, okay, the momentum is too high, the overall swing structure was bullish. We had the liquidity grab over here, which is pretty much equal to just a demand zone. And then we have the confirmation that there is bullish momentum due to this 4-hour fractal high going. So that's a potential trade that I have my eyes on, looking for that potential long. But otherwise, until then, obviously supply is now in control. Bearish momentum is still in control. So it still makes sense to just look for those shorts. So if you are in shorts, congratulations. Yeah, you can hold on to those. And I would personally get out once this 4-hour fractal high goes. And then I would be interested in buying EURUSD once again. Now, looking at the dollar index, the dollar index is very similar to EURUSD. Obviously, it's the inverse chart pretty much, because the EURUSD makes up for around, I think, 56% of the dollar index. And what we can see here is that this here is your 4-hour fractal low. And as long as that 4-hour fractal low holds, it makes sense for the dollar to push up higher. Why? Because the overall market structure, the overall order flow is still bullish. Here we can see sell before the buy. Here we can see sell before the buy. Here again, we can see sell before the buy. Here again, we have sell before the buy. So you can see those sell before the buys, they just keep on holding, guys. That is currently what is pushing the market up higher, and the overall order flow remains bullish. However, we are creating equal lows here underneath all of these ascending lows. So that's where liquidity lies. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a push to take out these lows. But for me, that push will come once we break this low over here. So once that low goes, then for me, we'll take out those lows and we'll see a nice further continuation towards the downside. But otherwise, until then, just follow the order flow, as simple as that. This is the next 4-hour imbalance candle. It could just push in towards there, and then you just wait for the 4-hour order flow to shift again. If it doesn't, okay, fine. Then we just wait for the next 4-hour imbalance before the overall order flow shift again, okay? As simple as that. So all you're simply doing is you're just waiting for that overall 4-hour fractal structure to shift in our favor, and then we'll get in on a potential trade, okay? So that's what I'm waiting for the dollar. Until then, obviously, longs still make sense. Now, going into AUDUSD, you guys know I'm still in a long position. It's currently running at break even. Overall, the market is still consolidating. For me, this is still just a very valid play. No need to stress or to panic. I always get a lot of messages when I share these kind of positions. Fabio, drawdown, Fabio, break even, la 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 la. Just hold and we'll see what happens. Overall, we swept the weekly low over here. And for now, the weekly order flow is bullish. We're inside weekly demand. We have a key level of support on the higher time frame, the daily time frame as well. Key level of support over here, right? We can very clearly see previous resistance turns support. So yeah, it's just naturally a choppy area that we're currently in, and it's just waiting to break out in either direction. Now, for now, this is obviously kind of like the level that we need to break, this red line around 0.63200. If we can break that, then we will be good, and the overall order flow should continue up higher. So we need to break this high over here. That for now is the main focus. It could still come down lower. I don't really care. All I'm looking for is still for the upside to happen. If it does push down lower, then I'll just reevaluate my options and look for new potential longs when we're at these lower levels in the market overall, okay? But for now, I'm happy with this long position, and for me, it's still looking perfectly fine. I wouldn't really look at this from a lower time frame perspective due to the consolidative price action that we are seeing. Going into GBPUSD, this might be a good opportunity for the lower time frame traders, because overall what we can see here is that we are inside a supply zone. Again, very similar to EURUSD, trend was bearish, trend becomes bullish. Here we had the break of structure. After break of structure, what do you expect? You expect a pullback in towards the downside. When do you expect a pullback? When you reach a higher time frame area of supply. So we reached a weekly supply zone over here, which is also daily supply. So that is number one, because when you expect a pullback, you need two things. Number one, you need the supply, so the S, and then number two, what you need the fractal structure shift, FSS. So what do we have over here? We have the supply zone. Did we have the fractal structure shift as well? Yes, we did. Here we had the high break, here we had the low break. So overall, we saw the push up, push down, push up, push down, push up, push down, push up, and now you would be potentially looking for another push in towards the downside, because the immediate daily fractal structure is bearish, right? So here we had the low break, so it still makes sense to push down lower. These two imbalance candles over here, those are your supply zones. That is your supply zone over here. So it makes sense to push down lower from there. Going in towards the 4-hour time frame, what do we see over there? Again, inside that daily supply zone, we see the 4-hour supply zone. And then if you go onto the 1-hour time frame, on the 1 hour as well, you have pretty much a buy before the sell. Now, this is not the strongest area of supply. Why? Because you have descending highs over here. But as we can see, we had a high break, and then we had a low break. So this is now pretty much your supply zone. For me, it's not the best and ideal trade, but I would be keeping an eye on the 15-minute time frame to kind of see what happens next from this 15-minute supply zone over here. Let's see if there's kind of like an order flow to be created. Again, you've kind of already swept the lows over here, and you still have these open descending highs. So for myself, this is not a very high probability short in my personal opinion, but if you are looking for a short, maybe just wait for another low break and then get in on the order flow. But otherwise, in my opinion, there is still potential to take out those descending highs before anything else. So yeah, that is GBPUSD. Going into NZDUSD, we can see that NZDUSD is also still a long position in my personal opinion. Still very, very clean, what I can see and what I've found. Overall, what we had here was the daily break on the higher time frame. We are at what? A key level of support. As simple as that. No need to overcomplicate it. And then obviously I'm bearish on the dollar still. Looking at this from a daily perspective, daily demand, daily 0.5 fib. And now what you really want to see is the daily internal change of character. So what do I mean with a daily internal change of character? It sounds so complicated, Fabio. Now all that is the fact that the immediate daily fractal is in between this low over here and this high over here, but internally we can see that we have like this mini pullback. So here we had a low break and this is now your high. So this dotted line, that is the high to break. If you want a higher probability trade, wait for that dotted line to break, then get in on the retest and then go long. So yeah, if you're a chicken, maybe do that. I'm joking, guys, but for me it's already valid to take, yeah, beautiful trade overall, very happy with it, and let's see how it plays out. Stop loss is placed nice and safe, but yeah, if you're looking for kind of like a lower time frame setup, then maybe wait for this to break and then get into longs, because I expect kind of like the market to trend a little bit more once we break that high, because overall now we're kind of like at this resistance level, which is causing the market to kind of like chop a little bit in between 0.56 800 and 0.57 500. So that's kind of like a consolidative zone for the market, but I'm happy to be involved here as I don't want to miss out on the risk to reward. So let's see if we do break, then yeah, more longs on the retest. So let's keep an eye open for that. Going into USDJPY and then of course gold. So UJ itself played out pretty much as we wanted to, just didn't push down low enough. Overall, the daily order flow for now is holding. And what do I mean with the daily order flow? Again, just very simply said, the overall sell before the buy. Then again, over here, the overall sell before the buy. We tap in and we push back out again. So for me, longs on UJ are still very, very valid overall. However, like we still left behind equal lows. I was actually looking for those lows to get taken out, but for now UJ does look like it wants to push up higher, so I would mainly focus on longs only and not really on shorts for myself. As simple as that. The overall momentum, the overall order flow is bullish as well. So yeah, I mean, demand obviously was here in control, and for now as well, again, demand here is in control. So for myself, shorts don't really make any sense at the moment. And last of all, we have gold. Gold was consolidating yesterday on the lower time frame. So remember that we were looking at this range over here. And if we draw in the range trading tool, you'll see that there was like a 100 pip drop as we discussed yesterday. It seems that we're kind of like breaking above the red line now, which is support and resistance. I don't trade it, but obviously you need to kind of like use your common sense, and you can obviously see that demand here was in control. And yeah, for now, longs are looking good. On the 15-minute time frame as well, demand was in control and the overall immediate structure is bullish. However, where are you now? You're at the high itself. So does it make sense to buy? No, don't be an idiot. Wait for a better area, yeah, or a better area of value before looking for a long. You never want to be buying at a high. And where do you want to be selling? You want to be selling after the high if the trend immediately is bullish. So you want to be selling from here, or you want to be buying from here. Here you don't want to be doing anything because you're just too late. So don't have FOMO and wait for either one of those areas. So yeah, look for those sells from there or look for those buys from lower, as simple as that. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Wish you all a fantastic trading day and we'll speak soon.